What's up guys, this is Vanilla, not the flavor which is sweet. So I am outside now. Wow, the wind is so strong. I cannot believe how strong it is. So it's spring and I thought that I might just make a video outside the room because it's a really good day and I just wanted to show you guys how beautiful it is. See that? Now that is peaceful. Now the reason why I'm making a video today is not because it's a defense or anything, but I'm gonna make a progress report, a monthly report, I guess, of what I have learned while I am here in Japan, of what I have observed, of what I have taken in from all of this, from being here during this month. Now, I have a list of questions that I prepared for me to answer, just so you know in the future, maybe the past me just thought that you might need some questions, and he was right. Anyway, so the first question was, in terms of economy or way of living, what could I possibly share? Well, for the first month, I guess the way of living, it's very expensive. By expensive, I don't mean that you need a lot of money, but expensive as in there is a lot the money, for example, the prices are very high, but it doesn't really cost that much. For example, if I say 100 yen, now 100 yen, 100 yen is already equivalent to 43 something pesos, and I don't know what equivalent it is in the US dollars, but in the Philippines it's about 43 pesos, and that's already high enough, right? But here I felt like they treat their 100 yen as if it was just 10 pesos, or just a penny, or just a coin. Well, 100 yen, yes, it's a coin, but the way they treat it is like it really is just something small. And perhaps I understood that because the way their prices are presented are very different from what we all know. Most of us, when we see something like 1,000 or 10,000, or it's already high. For example, if it's 100, it's already high. But here, it's not that high. And I think it's because of the exchange rate, and that it's totally different. For example, it's just 0.43, and if you exchange a peso from the Philippines. Let's move on from money and go to the culture of the Japanese. Now, when it comes to culture, well, recently I just joined, I didn't really join, but I attended a class about charo, or tea ceremonies, and it is very, very traditional. I cannot believe how they were able to preserve such tradition, and they still practice that said tradition. For example, tea ceremonies, they have very specific movements for everything. The way you walk, the way you talk, the way you talk, the way you move your cup, the way you receive things from other people, and the way that you address the people. And that is something that I am so amazed at. In the Philippines, there are still practices that are still being practiced. Of course, practices being practiced, traditions is still being practiced, but again, it depends on every region. Not every region is the same in the Philippines. For example, in Baguio, for example, or Igorots, for example, have this habit of making kanyao, dancing the kanyao every time there's a wedding, or when someone dies, I think. Every anniversary, I think they do it in the school, in my university, so I think they still practice those kinds of things. But here, they really take it seriously. They take it so seriously, you have to study it in school. You have to study it for a whole freaking year. And I am not even making that up. I mean, if you go, in the Philippines, we don't have that. We don't study our culture for a year. We only do it like once or twice. I don't really know. Next on the list is education. And I could really say the educational system in the Philippines is very different from the educational system in Japan. Now, the first day that I started classes, the first day we started classes, we went straight. Of course, there's introductions and everything, but after the introductions, we started straight to the class. There were no other introductions. No, we literally just started class after the introductions, and that's totally not something you see in the Philippines. I mean, if you in the Philippines, once you start your introductions, and then sometimes there's usually games, or the teachers talk to the students, or students talking to the teachers. It's usually like that. Or sometimes, the teacher dismisses the class very early. But here in Japan, they really squeeze up all the time that they need. Like, all of the lessons that you have to take in, they try to squeeze all of it in. And I also noticed that it's very lecture centered. Now, of course, still student centered, but the student centered is focused solely on the lectures. There are hardly any group works, there are hardly any partner works, there's hardly any other works that require two or more people. It's usually very individualistic. And I can understand that since not everyone here in Japan are very social, as I have realized. Because for some reason, I don't know what it is, but they're very shy people. Yeah, they're very, very shy. I can't really explain why, but once they listen to the lecture, that's pretty much all they focus on, and I can see why that is, and that's probably why they are so strict when it comes to lectures and lessons and everything, and probably because the test is pretty much the very core of everything. I mean, if you fail the test, you fail everything. And so if you fail something, if you fail something, sorry, why am I suddenly stopping? If you fail something, that is totally, it's a total shame. And that's, at least that's what I realized when I was here. And that's probably why a lot of students go to study a lot. I mean, a lot. During the exams, before the exams even, they start reviewing. Compare that to Philippines, where they just study before the exams. That doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Also, I also observed how the middle school and high school students come to school at a very early time and come home very late. And I'm talking, they start at 8 o'clock a.m. and they end 8 o'clock p.m. I'm not making this up. That's pretty much all I can observe on the educational system here in Japan, because I've only been here for a month. Give me a break. So next on the list is language. Now, language is Japanese, yes, Nihongo. But I also noticed that it's very different from, of course, it's very different from English, but there is a faint similarity with Tagalog. By that, I mean it's syllabic. Tagalog is very syllabic. So is Ilocano. So is let's just say Filipino. Filipino language is very syllabic. By that, I mean that they start with ba, ka, ki, ko, like that. And that's pretty much the same thing here in Japan. They have their own ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, sashi, su, se, so. It's sashi, su, se, so. It's the same thing. However, they have their own graph for it, and they have their own writing for it. We once had a form of writing for our language, which is alibata, or baybayin. But it is not widely used for this generation or for this century, because nobody really uses them now. We pretty much use alphabets now, but the concept's still the same. We still use syllables. We still use ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, and stuff like that. And that's pretty much a big similarity when it comes to that, because that's probably why I was able to learn Japanese very easily, because the language was faintly similar to Filipino. which is syllabic. Why do I keep repeating the same things? Forgive me for that. Also, it's despite them being similar through syllabication, they're very different when it comes to writing. Now, the Filipino language, yes, there was Alibata and Baybayin, but now that it has been changed into the alphabets, it has become much more difficult for us to understand. But for hiragana and katakana, they have their own form of writing and another form of writing for the same syllables. And I am so amazed at it. I think I already explained that before on my talk about kanji and stuff, how to understand Nihongo and stuff, so I don't really explain that anymore. Now, there is also they have three languages, by the way. Japanese have three languages: hiragana, katakana, and kanji. And kanji is the most difficult one of all of them because it has only been a month, but I have already learned a lot of kanji characters, and it's okay. It's very easy to understand if it's very simple characters, but if they're combined together, oh god damn it, it's a headache. You cannot understand a thing. I mean, so what I mean by that is that the meanings change every time you mix certain characters, and such. It makes it very difficult to understand, and that's pretty much all I can share about Japanese language as of this month. Yeah, I don't have much to share. And in terms of literature and art, I haven't really been in any exhibits or anything, but I have been in a Both Fair or Fune Matsuri, and it pretty much presented a lot of ships which were made centuries ago or even millenniums ago. I don't really remember, but it was very, very long ago, and I remember that most of the structures of the ships are very traditional in a way that I don't know, it never really changed. It never changed. It pretty much looks like the ships that you see in the movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, but there's a slight difference. Anyway, at least all I can share is that they can mix innovation and tradition very smoothly, and it's as if most of the boats never changed from centuries ago until now. Now, I also want to talk about manga, but that's for another week. I'm gonna make a defense about that. I am so sorry about that, but just wait for it. It's gonna be a 2-part series, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna like it because it's a very interesting topic. But anyway, let's move on to cuisine. And when it comes to cuisine, they like raw stuff. Japanese people like raw stuff. I mean, you can see a section full of just raw fish, raw meat. It's just you can just eat it as is, by the way. And they just give you soy sauce, and by the way, soy sauce is very different because the soy sauce here is very different. It's kikoman. It's a little salty than what I'm used to in the Philippines, and it has that what do you call this? It has a texture that's very wet, and you can pretty much put it in any dish. You can put it on meat, you can put it on fish, you can put it on anything. And other than that, of course, rice. But the rice in Japan is very different. By that, I mean it's very sticky, that even if you put sabaw or if you put soup on it, it would still stick. You could just put you can just grab your chopsticks and then mix it with the soup, and then you can still take it because it's that sticky. And I can't believe how that works. I don't even know how that works, actually. Does that even... I don't know how that works. In the Philippines, it separates a lot. It just separates. But here in Japan, it's just really sticky. Whatever you do, it will always stick. And that is amazing, dude. I wish we had it in the Philippines. But that's pretty much all I can share about cuisine for now. Next is the holidays. So, holidays, there's a lot of holidays, and next week there is this really long holiday called Golden Week. Now, Golden Week is a week-long holiday. Now, Holy Week, Holy Week, I don't know what to call it. And the reason for that is that each day has a very specific holiday. So that week alone has a lot of holidays. So in order for them to implement all of those holidays together, they just call it Golden Week, and they just mix it in one week, and there you go, Golden Week. And I haven't experienced Golden Week yet because it's still gonna be Golden Week, but I reckon it's gonna be a very boring day. Well, at least for me, because I live in a very peaceful place. But maybe because I'll go to Fukuoka next week, maybe I'll see some things. Maybe that will change my perspective on holidays, because Saturdays and Sundays are very, very peaceful. It's very peaceful that it's boring. I really just have to throw that to you guys, because again, Japanese people are very quiet people. They are very timid people, but I guess that's fine because it's very peaceful. No noisy stuff. No, I mean, the people here, the Japanese people that were walking here a while ago, they don't really give a damn about me talking in front of a laptop. So I guess that's something that I find very intriguing. But entertainment, this one I can share a lot. You know, anime is a very, very big entertainment medium here. They have a shop. They literally have shops in each corner. Not really in each corner, but each city at least. And it's just full of manga and anime. Speaking of manga, there is a section in a bookshop, even a library, dedicated to just manga. How amazing is that? So they pretty much call manga as literature, and I think that it is as well, because it also fulfills what books or any form of literature, fiction or non-fiction, has accomplished. It's pretty much a literature at its core. So I understand why they call manga literature, and I'm so amazed by that. In the Philippines, you cannot find those things. You can only find law books and things that are related to your course. And that sucks, dude. You can't even read or enjoy yourself in the library because there is nothing that interests you in reading. You are interested in reading. And that is, I just find that really amazing. You can find it anywhere. It's very cheap, by the way. Manga is very cheap. Anime, this is very cheap. If you know where to look, it's very cheap. But I'm not gonna show more of that. I'm just gonna show more in my defenses and stuff, because, yeah. Anyway, climate. The climate here, it's very similar to Baguio City. It's not that hot, while it's not that cold. It's just the right temperature. It's spring. I'm just gonna say it outright. It's spring. This is the temperature of spring. I think it is 20 to 22 degrees. I don't remember what the temperature is today, but it's very warm and it feels really good. That's why I'm recording this outside right now, because the weather feels so freaking good. And I hope it doesn't change next month, because I also want to do another monthly report here outside, so that you can see just how much has changed. I'm gonna do this every year, by the way, because of my documentary and stuff like that. Now, there's a lot more in this list, such as which practices do Japanese have, and Buddhism, and a lot of other interesting topics, but I can't share this month because I'll spare you the nightmare stuff, because the video paused and it broke. So I'm just gonna leave it there. If you enjoyed, leave a like and also subscribe down there for more videos like this. As always, I am sorry. This is vanilla, not the flavor, but just the sweet.